Over the last decade, no country has invested more money into renewable energy than China. China's investment into renewables totaled nearly $760 billion between 2010 and 2019. And in 2022, China invested $546 billion in clean energy, far surpassing the United States' $141 billion and the European Union's $180 billion. China's investments include solar power and wind energy, electric vehicles, and batteries. Despite hefty investments in renewable energy, however, China is still anything but clean and green. In September 2020, re-elected Chinese President Xi Jinping stated that China's carbon emissions would begin to decline by 2030, which is still 6 years away, and that China would become carbon neutral by 2060. In the meantime, according to CNBC, Chinese policymakers are making clear that economic growth remains a top priority and that growth depends largely on coal power. China is the world's largest consumer of coal and accounts for a staggering 50% of global coal consumption. Coal power use reached a peak of 4.9 trillion kilowatt hours in 2018, and even as recently as 2021, coal was used to generate 4.5 trillion kilowatt hours of energy and accounted for around 60% of China's total electricity generation. Coal power is problematic because coal is generally considered to be the least environmentally friendly source of energy. When burned, coal releases a number of harmful pollutants into the air, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, and even mercury. These pollutants can cause a variety of health problems, including respiratory and heart disease, and even cancer. Coal also emits large amounts of carbon dioxide, which, as we all know, is a major contributor to climate change. In addition to air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions, coal mining can also have a negative impact on the environment, polluting water supplies, contaminating soil, and destroying wildlife habitats. Given all of this, it's quite clear that China is trying to pursue two entirely different goals altogether, and these goals don't really support each other. On the one hand, China wants to pursue relentless economic growth, and on the other hand, it's making massive investments in renewable energy that would suggest that Beijing really cares about climate change and the impact that it's having. This forces us to ask, what really is motivating China's renewable energy investments? Because the concern for climate change doesn't really seem to be it. Before we proceed, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, could I please request that you do so? We're a team that's working really hard to bring you these videos, and we need to reach 1,000 subscribers so YouTube will allow us to monetize our channel. Your support means everything to us, even if it's free. Without further ado, let's dive in. China is reaching its renewable energy targets quickly. As shown in the graph, China's share of primary energy from low-carbon sources has more than doubled from around 8% in 2010 to well over 16% in 2021. In 2021, the country added 100 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, which is more than that added by any other country in the world. This brought China's total renewable energy capacity to over 1,000 gigawatts, which is more than the capacity of the United States and the European Union combined. Chinese energy companies are a rising force in wind and solar due to strong government support, large investments in the sector, and an entrepreneurial approach towards climate innovation that involves running and scaling pilot climate finance programs. In 2006, the Chinese government put into effect the Renewable Energy Law of the People's Republic of China. This applies to all non-fossil energy sources including wind, solar, water, biomass, geothermal, and ocean energy, and it establishes a framework for renewable energy to become a more important energy source in China. Since 2011, the Chinese government has also been granting subsidies to the renewable energy sector, while in 2016, China's National Development and Reform Commission issued regulations that guaranteed the full purchase of electricity generated using renewable energy. In 2020, a draft energy law came into force that stated that the development of renewable energy in China was one of Beijing's top priorities. So why is China investing in renewable energy more heavily than any other country? Even though internally they continue to use coal extensively for electricity generation purposes, China has three main motivations behind its renewable energy investments. First off is China's severe air pollution problem. Air pollution is known to cause a number of health problems, including respiratory issues, heart disease, and cancer, and China's air quality is often ranked as the worst in the world. It is estimated that air pollution causes more than 1 million deaths every year in the country. The main causes of air pollution in China are the burning of coal for electricity and vehicle and industrial emissions, and its effects are felt on China's environment and even on its economy in the form of reduced productivity and increasing healthcare costs. China's second motivation behind its hefty investments in renewable energy is energy security. Beijing wants to secure its energy supply and reduce its dependence on foreign oil as much as possible. As the world's most populous country and one of its fastest growing economies, China's energy needs are massive and growing. But the country has limited domestic energy resources and must import a significant portion of its fossil fuels. This compromises China's energy security and exposes it to the risk of supply disruptions and price volatility. While China's total energy supply is sourced from a variety of sources including coal, natural gas, hydroelectricity, wind, solar, biofuels and waste, and oil, its rapid growth has fueled a demand for energy that far outstrips domestic supply, and in 2021, China imported $239 billion worth of oil and $50 billion worth of natural gas. China is currently the world's largest energy consumer and top buyer of crude oil, liquefied natural gas, and coal. It's been a net oil importer since 1993 and is expected to import around 60% of its oil and at least 30% of its natural gas by 2040. In 2009, because of its rising demand for energy, China also became a net importer of coal, a material for which it was traditionally able to fulfill demand internally. Renewable energy offers China an alternative to having to rely completely on imports to fulfill its domestic energy needs. This is especially important for China given a current global landscape characterized by what could be called a new Cold War between the US and China. Because China is a sizable buyer of fossil fuels, its reliance on foreign sources of energy isn't an acute threat to its energy security. However, China's development plans have never been short-sighted, and Beijing is acutely aware of the importance of energy security for sustained, secure, long-term growth and development. China's 14th five-year plan for a modern energy system, released in March 2021, outlines China's plans for its energy sector up to 2025. It includes investments in overseas oil exploration and development projects, interest in transnational oil pipelines, plans for a strategic petroleum reserve, expansion of refineries to process crude oil supplies from the Middle East, and increased renewable energy generation in Western China. Beijing's third and final motivation behind these hefty renewable energy investments is the opportunity for tech leadership and the potential economic gains that come with it. As the world is increasingly shifting towards low-carbon sources of energy, renewable energy presents an enormous economic opportunity that China is trying to capitalize on. China's investments are primarily focused on solar and wind power, which are seen as two key sectors in which China has potential competitive advantage. China recognizes that renewable energy technologies will become increasingly important in future, and that global leadership in renewable energy thus presents a massive economic opportunity. Never short-sighted, Beijing realizes this and is positioning itself to be able to capitalize on the demand that will be created by a global transition to clean energy. The country's massive investments, however, have also benefited those outside of China as they've improved the efficiency and reliability of renewable energy technologies, helped drive down their costs, and made them more accessible. This has helped to accelerate the transition to renewables and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. China also recognizes that investing in renewable energy can create jobs and stimulate economic growth, and as of 2021, it had 5.4 million people employed in the renewable energy sector. China has become a major exporter of renewable energy technologies and has established partnerships with other countries to promote renewable energy development. Its investments in renewable energy have helped to position it as a global leader in the field. However, China's dominance in the renewable energy sector isn't without geopolitical ramifications. China controls 80% of the global solar cell manufacturing capacity, and some worry that it could use its dominant position as a major exporter of renewable technologies to exert political and economic leverage over other countries. But this is a topic for another day. As things currently stand, China, driven by geopolitical considerations, economic opportunity, and just the plain old need for clean air to breathe, has become a global leader in the development and manufacturing of renewable energy technologies and will continue to remain so in the foreseeable future. Thank you for staying with us till the very end. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you again in the next one.